Mr. Green.
I'm vowed to be the nicest. On the mic it with rhyme writing. My mind states God cipher divine righteous. This is the sound of refinement. Extra time spent on every line written. You can hear the difference when I'm rhyming. The barbarian rap writings like Clash of the Titans. I wield the pen like Poseidon holding the golden triton. On the mic I strike faster than vipers and flashes of bolts of lightning. My poetry will leave the Pope enlightened. Whack rappers is past time. You paid the Pied Piper as the price just skyrocketed.
This is Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. It's May 21st, 2018. This is the intro by the Barbarians.
If I dumb the metaphors down, you think the sky was falling. Rappers' arms too short to shadow box with the lords in the pantheon of rap. I'm the high exalted. The new God flow, prepare your offering. I treat the booth like the synagogue, cause the mic's my calling. I should congregate a following, although agnostic. You felt the flow was God sent, further personifying my Messiah complex.
It is May 21st, 2018. How's everybody doing? You're back at the work week. You got things going. You're looking at the week ahead of you. Where's your playoff schedule? What are your teams doing? You're looking at this sports betting thing going out there going, when am I going to make mine? Or maybe not. Maybe you're more like me and you're not really interested in the sports betting. Anyway, it's your Monday. It's time to relax. Open a nice a cold soda pop and kick back, relax with me, KP. We're going to talk some sports today, of course. Las Vegas Golden Knights. Are you kidding me? An expansion team. We're going to get into that a little bit. This is an amazing story with the Las Vegas Golden Knights NHL hockey team. We're going to catch up on some stuff in the NBA playoffs, reactions, storylines, whatnot. And then we'll get to this story Mike Florio dropped today with some of the information he's reporting on with this collusion case and Colin Kaepernick and kind of where it stands, what's been out there, and things like that. If you like that track we played at the beginning of the show, that was the Barbarians, true lyricists here out of Denver, Colorado. You can check them out through the website, realdealsportstalkwithkp.com. On the website, go on over to check us out. You have links there to both their SoundCloud and their Facebook page. Check them out. They are the real deal. Don Banks and Vivid Scientific. I know these cats going way back. They are good at their craft, and they are the official music right now of Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. Follow us on our social media as well. You can find that at realdealsportstalkwithkp.com. All right, let's get into it. The Las Vegas Golden Knights. And you heard me correctly when I said this. Maybe you're like me and you're listening to the show right now and you're not a heavy hockey fan. You're not a big hockey fan. You're more of a casual hockey fan. Me, myself, I've said this on the show. I'll be real about it. I love the playoff hockey. That's when I like to pay attention to it. It's great to go to the arena. It's great to be there in person, no matter playoff or not. It's a great atmosphere, don't get me wrong. But me personally, I like it when it gets to playoff time. It ramps it up a little bit. More action, more speed, and I appreciate the game at that point. It also gives me time to kick back and watch it, see some of the rivalries develop, see how some of these top seeds are playing the lower seeds and things like that, some of the chess matches that go on in a series rather than an 82-game schedule. But the Las Vegas Golden Knights, expansion team. This team, okay, May 19th, their Twitter account. Vegas Golden Knights, okay, at Golden Knights. Go check them out, follow them. They got a good sense of humor. On this date in Golden Knights history, ... Actually, not much happened. We didn't have a team yet. Probably just had some meetings. That is hilarious. When I saw that, I busted up laughing. If I would have had water in my mouth or a drink or something, it would have been spit out. That is just classic. 2 days later, here we are. They're in the Stanley Cup Finals as an expansion team. This is a team that during the regular season, they went 51-24 with 7 overtime losses. 109 points on the season. Only 4 teams in the rest of the NHL had more points on the season than this expansion team did. The Winnipeg Jets, who they just knocked out of the playoffs, the Nashville Predators, the Boston Bruins, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay is currently still in the playoffs. Nashville was knocked out. Winnipeg was knocked out. Boston was knocked out early. But Tampa Bay's still in it over there against Washington right now. Actually, no. You know what? I'll have to check that. Somebody out there, NHL fans, let me know if that series ended up ending the other night. But 109 points on the regular season. Only 4 teams better than that points-wise. And all of them within 6 or 7 points. So easily, could have been right there for the top point team also. This team plays hard. They play together. Historically, you don't see teams that are just put together in one off season meld that well, that fast, to be that good for not just a sprint, not just some games here and there, but for an entire season. Carry that over into the playoffs. This is a team, they've only lost, according to ESPN stats, they've only lost 3 games in the playoffs. They're the 13th team since the NHL moved to 4 out of 7 rounds, best of 4 out of 7. In 1987, they moved to that format. They have lost 3 or fewer games in the playoffs prior to the Stanley Cup final. The previous 12, however, that's not a good omen apparently. The previous 12 went 4-8 in the Stanley Cup final. So take that for what it's worth. But that's still impressive nonetheless, regardless of what then goes on to happen in the Stanley Cup finals when you're then facing another team who is the best that season. To only lose 3 games on your way to the Stanley Cup finals. Throwing in that you're an expansion team. You've only been together for 1 calendar year to the date that you make it into the finals. Great coaching. Great team. Those guys played for each other. They worked hard on every shift. It's almost like they watched the Miracle on Ice before the season and said, okay, guys, this can be us. I mean, it's so impressive what this team is doing. I would love to see them go on and win the Stanley Cup finals at this point. I mean, why not? Let's just make the magical run. Let's get the Disney movie rolling. Now, Vegas and the sports books, they're highly concerned about that. At the beginning of the season, the Vegas Knights were 500-1 to win the Stanley Cup finals. I have a friend who is a sports bettor, and he showed me his account today, and he bet $25 at the beginning of the season, I believe. And he's scheduled to currently make, I think, $5,000 on the bet. So the sports bookies, they may not have enough money to cover this. If enough, I don't know how many people bet for the Vegas Knights at the beginning of the season. But if it was a lot and they put up some pretty good money, there could be some issues now. Now, as the season went along, the odds changed. So depending on where you got into that action, if you're getting in now, your odds aren't so good now. But depending on where you got in, you might have had some really good odds coming into, as far as the sports betting world goes. And for this to be a Vegas team on top of it, you would think that the books would have had a better idea of what was going on there. SB Nation reports that this has happened actually every 50 years in the NHL. In 1918, the Toronto Arenas did it as their first-year team, making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. In 1968, 50 years later, the St. Louis Blues made it into the Stanley Cup Finals. And in 2018, the Vegas Golden Knights have now achieved the feat. In other sports, looked into this, got these stats also from, where did I find these at? Sports Illustrated. I'm not going to say this name right, but I believe it's pronounced Nahal Kalor. Wrote a piece in Sports Illustrated outlining the other major pro sports and the teams that have come close or achieved this feat. In MLS, the Chicago Fire in 1998 won the MLS Cup and the U.S. Cup that season. In Major League Baseball, no team has ever achieved more than 70 wins in their inaugural season, so more than likely they didn't even make the playoffs at at that number. In the NBA, the 1967 Bulls were the most successful expansion franchise. They had 33 wins. That's not getting into the playoffs. And in the NFL, the best expansion record was the 95 Panthers, Carolina Panthers, as they went 7-9. And that's the best finish in the NFL. So, I mean, that just goes to show how even more amazing this run is on. Even if you're not a hockey fan, tune in and root for the Golden Knights. Root for this journey, this magical season to continue. I mean, that's the best story that can happen right now. At this point, probably not statistically likely for the run they've been on to get this far. It's probably more than likely that they'll lose in the Stanley Cup Finals. But man, would I love to see them just go ahead and win it and just finish off the quite possibly one of the best seasons in any sport ever. Because of the fact this team has only been together for one calendar year. These guys played all over the place before this year. It's not like they added a guy here and there and the season took off compared to last year. No, this team didn't exist. They didn't move from another city. They started the first pro sports team in Vegas, and they are currently killing it. I mean, you have to be impressed with what the Vegas Knights are doing. I know I am, and I wish all of you to just tune in and watch one game. Watch one period. Watch the first period of the Stanley Cup Finals as the Vegas Golden Knights take on, let me look it up real quick and see where that other series is at with the Lightning and the Capitals. They play tonight, 6 p.m. local time here in Denver. Tampa Bay is up in the series, 3 games to 2. So if Tampa Bay wins tonight, it'll be the Las Vegas Golden Knights versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, one of the few teams that had more regular season points than the Lightning did this season. We'll see what happens there. That's kind of been a back and forth series so far. It went 2 for the Lightning, 2 for the Capitals, 1 for the Lightning. Maybe the Capitals get one tonight, and the Vegas Knights Golden Knights can get a little rest. All right, moving on. NBA playoffs. I don't know if you guys have been watching the playoffs or not, if you're basketball fans or not, but the last few years, all right, there's a stat that I read, ESPN stats, over the last 2 seasons, there have been twice as many conference finals games decided by 30 points or more, with 4 of those, as by single digits with only 2 of those. The average margin has been 19.5 points per game that these teams are separated by in the conference finals of the NBA. So I started thinking about that. Okay, the Cavs just beat the Celtics by 30 in Game 3. Golden State won by 41 last night against Houston. So I started thinking about that. Why would that be? We talked about how Doug Gottlieb had said that the Cavs looked like they came out playing rope-a-dope in Game 1. And I kind of thought, okay, maybe there's something to that. Then I saw this stat, and I thought, okay, is there a new psychology in the NBA that is causing these teams to go, okay, we have another game. We have another game. Okay, this one's not working out tonight. We have one more game. We have this series that's allowing them to somehow reset themselves, not in the moment in the game, but for the next game. Are they somehow psychologically now not playing to win? Well, playing to win, but if it's not working, not willing to exert the extra effort to come back or to stay in it or to give that push because they know they have another day to play. They'll live to see another day, so to speak. Has that become the mentality of the modern NBA playoff player? Okay, we got blown out today. No biggie. We get to play tomorrow or in 2 days. This is a 7-game series. We know that we're not going to play like this every night. So it is what it is tonight. And we'll go through the motions and we'll get it back together for Game 3, Game 4, Game 5. I don't know. Maybe that's part of what we thought was the rope-a-dope, was a team that said, okay, we don't have it tonight. We're going to continue to compete. We're not just going to lay down and walk up and down the court and not rebound or not do anything. But we know now we don't have it tonight, and we get to come back on Wednesday. We get to come back on Friday. Is that something we're now seeing in the NBA? I mean, you look at the conference finals margin of victory. Cavs Celtics game 1 through 3 so far. Boston wins by 25. Boston wins by 13. Cleveland wins by 30. Blowouts. Double-digit wins every time. 25, 30 points. 13 is the closest game so far in 3. You guys, we all saw how Cleveland played in game 1. We saw what the Celtics looked like in game 3. The effort, the intensity, the hustle, it didn't match. It's not just that home court has become this insurmountable thing that is just so horrible in the NBA. The Warriors-Rockets. Game 1, 13 by Golden State. 22 by Houston in game 2. 41 by Golden State in game 3. Blowouts. Again, the closest, 13 points so far in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. The closest game has been 13 points. Now, granted, on the Western Conference side with the Warriors and the Rockets, you got two teams that shoot lights out. They shoot a lot from the 3, and when they're hot, they're hot. Curry got real hot in the third quarter. Chris Paul was pretty hot in the third quarter. But what is it that we're starting to see over the last few seasons where this is starting to occur more and more, rather than close games or overtime games, that we see blowouts on home team courts, and then the final 3 games is when it really comes down to it, unless somehow one of the teams is just so much better. It'll be interesting to see if this is a trend that continues to happen over the next 4 or 5 years. Because then maybe there is something psychologically that's going on there that we need to pay attention to, and maybe be not teaching our young athletes to take it for granted, but to really give that hustle. Everybody wants to not give it to LeBron as the greatest player of all time because how harder players played back in the 90s and how much more physical players got to be in the 90s and the 80s. Well, there's an argument there. It was like that. It was I'm giving everything tonight. I'm not playing for tomorrow, I'm playing for right now. And I don't know that that's what we're seeing, at least this year and the last couple of years, in the playoffs. Now the Cavs and the Celtics, they have game 4 tonight. We know the Celtics look completely different in game 3. Low effort, no hustle. They weren't as sharp. If you go down the team, Terry Rozier wasn't as on as he's been. Aaron Baines, he did make his 3-pointer for the game, but he didn't have the same presence in the middle, in the lane. Jaylen Brown wasn't as hot in game 3 as he had been in the first 2 games. Al Horford also wasn't as effective on the offensive end. And these were guys that were carrying. Marquise Morris, you saw his quote about how he played defense against LeBron. He said he wasn't good. He knows he has to do better there. Marcus Smart didn't have the same impact. Jason Tatum didn't have the same impact. Now, do I expect them to come out game 4 the way they came out in game 3? No, but I bet it ends up a lot like game 2, and Cleveland probably wins by 10 to 15 points. That's the trajectory I'm expecting to have happen in game 4 before it goes back to Boston for game 5. Tied up 2-2. That's just what I'm expecting to happen based on what we've seen so far. Now, if you ask me just based on the last game what I would expect to have happen tonight, I would expect Boston to come out and have some pride tonight and play some hustle, regardless of if they have the shooting prowess they had in game one, percentage-wise. Expect them to be aggressive. Expect them to play tougher defense. Try and force Cleveland into tougher shots and take the role players out of the game. Expect them to try and make LeBron beat them. That's what I would do. I'm coming out tonight and I'm trying to end your night, your life. I'm letting you know this series is over. Yes, we're going back to Boston. You get to play again. But I'm making a statement. The series is done if I'm the Celtics tonight. That's the mentality I'm coming out playing with. Okay, we let them get one. They whooped us real good. But tonight we remind them we're the better team. You go over, the Cavs. 3 days off seemed like it worked real good for them. All of a sudden they're hitting threes. J.R. Smith's walking around asking questions to the audience like, why don't I just shoot? They just go in, I just shoot. They played more of a team game. George Hill was more aggressive, less watching of LeBron. LeBron got to distribute and just kind of be part of the game plan. Didn't have to score 40. Went for 27. You saw Green get more involved. Like I said, George Hill was more involved. I honestly don't remember if I saw Rodney Hood even hit the floor very much. Clarkson got some points. Korver was doing his thing. Kevin Love. And then, JR was being JR. They need that. They need all of those guys to be doing their thing, to be locked in, to be part of the game, to be hustling. They're older. They're slower. It's clear if the Celtics want to go speed, they could just take them off the floor. After LeBron makes his 6th shot tonight, he will pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most field goals made in the NBA postseason history. Not Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan will then be 3rd on that list. Now, does that alone mean LeBron is better than Michael? No. Everybody wants to go, Michael took 2 years off. Yeah, that's true. That's true, yeah. Michael also decided to go play for Washington after he retired one time. How'd that work out? I mean, sure he loved the game. Sure his name's Michael Jordan. But should he have really come back and done that? No, he didn't need to do that. But doing that gave him some more points, some more rebounds. No playoff points. Washington wasn't in the playoffs while he was there. But, I mean, at some point we need to stop the debate, which I'm starting to hear a lot more as this debate continues to drag on about who's the greatest. We need to drop the debate, just like we need to stop being on different sides in this country. We need to start finding the things we have in common and stop pointing out all the things that we have different. But at some point, we need to stop the debate about who's the greatest and just appreciate LeBron James for who he is and what he's doing on the court right now. Because it is greatness. And in 10 or 15 years, everybody's going to look back and talk about how great of a player he is. Tomorrow night, the Warriors take on the Rockets one more time. Game 4. They're up in the series 2-1. Big win for them, 41 points. Everybody got hot. Chris Haynes on Twitter had some good stats he put out there, and so did ESPN. The Warriors were 7 of 11 with James Harden as the primary defender. That included 6 of 7 by Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Golden State finished 8 of 14, 6 out of 10 contested, while James Harden was the primary defender. ESPN stats put out James Harden's 16 plays as the primary defender trailed only Chris Paul, who had 19, for most on the Rockets. Curry was 4 of 6 on field goals, and Durant was 3 of 4 on field goals. Finished combined 7 of 10 when defended by Harden on contested and non-contested shots. Of the 8 field goals that the Warriors made against Harden, those 8 out of 14 that Chris was talking about, 5 were layups or dunks. So they're getting inside on him also, all the way to the hoop. We all saw what Sean Livingston did, crossed him up, went straight to the hoop. Looked like an NBA Jam game. I even saw a clip where somebody added in the flames and everything. It was pretty cool. So that's where we're at with the playoffs. I mean, I expect the Rockets again to come back like I expect the Celtics to come back and have a much better game. They're not going to lose by 41 again in the playoffs. I just don't foresee that happening. Do I expect them to win Game 4? No, I expect the Warriors to win Game 4 and go up 3-1. I do think this series goes 6 games, but I think the Warriors go up 3-1. Houston takes it 3-2, and then the Warriors finish it off. That's how I see the rest of this series going. Now, just like I was talking about with the LeBron debate with Michael Jordan on who is the greatest player of all time, we are divided in this country because we are too easily manipulated, not just by the mass media or the liberal media, but by all media. I'm talking about movies and music and video games and the news and your sitcoms and all the stuff you hold dear. These are companies that have spent so much money trying to figure out how to just stimulate the right parts of your brain, how to find a thing in the right words in the right order to convince you to buy a product or to think a certain way or to watch this station over this station. They prey on our fears, they prey on our insecurities. And we have gotten so used to that as the norm that we are divided. You can't say hi to somebody walking down the street most of the time without getting a dirty look. We are divided. We want to look at the things that are different instead of noticing the things that are the same and building a mutual respect and a relationship off of it. And we've done that so much so that a football player, Colin Kaepernick, has become a symbol for racial injustice. He has been blackballed out of the NFL because of his political stance, because the matter of right and wrong does not outweigh the almighty dollar. Mike Florio talked about it today. He put it out on Pro Football Talk, NBCSports.com, that the collusion case is proving that teams saw Colin Kaepernick a year ago, when nobody would sign him, as a starting quarterback. Many teams saw him as a starting quarterback in the NFL and will not, have not, and did not offer him a contract. Now, his case is going to be hard to prove that they colluded, that they have banded together and decided as a group, not as individual teams who are just putting the almighty dollar ahead of what's right and wrong. Regardless of how his approach, or not even his approach, regardless of how his socks and his skin color make you feel, this is a matter of right and wrong. And there is now proof that teams, as they have been talking to the attorneys, have said, yes, we see Colin as a starting quarterback in the NFL. We saw him as a starting quarterback then. Okay, so then why aren't you signing? Okay, we don't want to take on the baggage, the attention. All you're saying there is that money out of our fans' pockets is more important than all of this injustice that's going on all over this country. And yes, we have the power to do something about it, but because we are scared that a portion of our fans might stop spending money on us, we are going to go the other way. We're going to turn our heads. We're going to take a stance and push a stance that has nothing to do with why he kneels, why I support him, why this show supports him, and why so many support him. This is a human issue. This is beyond skin color. This is about being the best we can be. Right? Isn't that what we're supposed to do in this country, is be the best we can be? Not let those with positions of power keep us down and divide us. We're supposed to find better ways to do things, improve upon things, fix and solve problems, be the world leader. We're not being the world leader in anything right now but ignorance. And hatred and fear And the one name at the center of it is a football player who a couple years ago, just a few years ago, led his team to a Super Bowl and now can't get a job. And everybody wants to say, oh, well, hey, we haven't seen or heard Colin say he wants to play. Well, I've seen him working out. I've seen him throwing passes. I've seen interviews where he said he wants to play. But what I haven't seen is him say, I'm willing to give up what I believe just to make money. Now, I don't know about you. I'm a parent. As a parent, I would rather my kid follow in Colin Kaepernick's footsteps than the current climate of major business owners and NFL owners. Aggressive. He's a thug. Oh, most of those people have referred to police as pigs or cops or heard that phrase at some point in their life, and they did not get all, I'm so mad about it. So I'm sorry. We have room to grow. We have a lot of problems to fix. We need to come together, like I said. We need to start looking at the things we have in common and not focusing on every little thing we have that's different. Learn about the differences. Educate yourself. Go outside of your comfort zone. Go outside of that zone that you've lived in with your family for so long because you were born into it. And for a lot of people, you don't have a choice what you were taught. So you have to be strong enough and brave enough to question, to ask, to search, to find truth beyond what's just being fed to you. We can do that. It's not hard. It's really not. While you're at the bus stop, turn to the person next to you, say, hey, how you doing? My name's KP. Hope you have a good day today. I get to the grocery store. Hey, I see you're having a little trouble with that, my man. Let me help you out. You see somebody being bullied. You see somebody doing wrong. Don't take your phone out to videotape it. Help. Be a mediator. You don't have to get a gun. You don't have to be strapped. You don't have to instantly go from 0 to 60 to where any of your actions now are coming from anger and reaction and fear and adrenaline. Take a moment to breathe, to serve and protect officers. Let them have an attitude. You are supposed to be the moral compass. You are supposed to have the high ground. You can let them run their mouth for hours. You get paid the same either way. And everybody can go home alive at the end of the day, regardless of their skin color. And you don't get bad press. And you don't have people who feel like they are truly good people who are doing a job and get so upset that they're being called bad people. You don't have a young man who goes from earning a living playing football, yes, it's a game, but he was still earning a living, to now being out of work and donating his money to charitable causes to try and fix and better situation while still being torn down for no other reason than who he is. And he took a stance on right and wrong at a time we're divided. So I salute you, Colin Kaepernick. That's the show today. That's Real Talk. You know how we do. Until next time, just be real.
Yo. Who bars iller than all lyrics and song killers. I dissolve niggas with fireballs from the jaw spilling. No hard feelings, but y'all niggas is all filler. Rip apart buildings and standing taller than Godzilla. A full verbal assault drilling. The bar villain, no absorbing in my mind, solving the God's willing.
Formulate the flow with finesse and in the highest fashion. The fire burning in my soul, my spirit's everlasting. Feel the wrath, you rappers don't even stand a chance. Crushing everything in our path just like an avalanche. So resounding, the flow is sounding, so picture perfect blood, sweat and tears. Promise you that the shit is worth it.
My word's perfect, and every verse is the worst murder. Now I'm probably burning for fire, attended in church service. It's closed curtains for whack rappers and lack purpose. You should stop your rapping.